Dear Mr. Peter, I had some few questions about after this workshop about doing agricultural business in Kenya. What do you really think of role of cooperation with the Dutch government, and does it really help you?
Well, speaking of my own organization, Latia Resource Center, definitely the cooperation with the Dutch government helps because we are quite keen on accessing Dutch technology, quite keen on accessing Dutch knowledge and Dutch businesses. And we believe that we look up to Netherlands and to the Dutch business, especially in agriculture, as a model that we would like to adopt. So definitely it helps. Yeah.
Another question is, what do you think? What do you think the role of development assistance should be in Kenya agriculture until 2020? I'm asking of what are the priorities?
For agriculture in Kenya, the priorities? Well, for me, I think the priority first is to revive our agricultural education systems. Because as you heard through the presentation, our agricultural extension system collapsed. We have a huge gap left, and we would like to learn from other organizations, from other countries. For example, how are they arranging their extension system? So we need to find a way of reviving our extension system. We need to find a way of improving technology. Technology is a key question because Kenya, like many other African countries, is already now experiencing real effects of climate change, which means we have to produce more food with less water, less land. So this calls for technology. So beside reviving our extension system, we have to actually pilot, experiment, look for new technologies that can help us to produce more food with less resources. So those are the two key priorities. Government for the Kenyan government, I think the main role is now to facilitate private sector. Let private sector take the lead in developing and guaranteeing food security in the future. For the Dutch government, for example, in the next few years, the opportunity to expose us to knowledge, to technology, matchmaking opportunities for businesses. I think those are priorities for us.
Thank you so much. I have a last question. You already talk about taking the lead in creating to have an economic development in Kenya, but when we talk about inclusive economic development and a development where everybody can benefit, even the poor, even the small-scale farmers, who's going to take the lead? Do you think is Kenya, is the private sector, or is the Netherlands?
Well, I don't think the Netherlands can do that. The Netherlands can only facilitate. The inclusion of small-scale farmers, of women, of the youth is a responsibility of Kenyans themselves. It's a responsibility of businesses that set up. Once you create an enabling environment, for example, you open up the markets, you create the infrastructure, you allow the small-scale farmers to participate, you allow women to participate. There is a lot of effort going on now, even with the government of Kenya, where, for example, special funds have been created to enable women to participate in business, to participate in agribusinesses. What is lacking now is that the knowledge gap is still quite big. So, and this knowledge gap can be addressed through both private sector but also public sector. So the role of the Dutch government or the role of the Dutch private sector is mainly the role of the government, either Kenya government or Dutch government, is facilitative. It's a private sector that will take the lead. And the private sector when I talk about private sector, it doesn't just mean companies, because even farmers are private sector. So that is very important to know. When we talk about private sector, we're also talking about individual farmers, they are private sector. So I think the role is in the hands of the private sector.